Okay, boys and girls, it's 11:30 a.m. on Sunday, and real quick, before I go into anything else, I'm really sorry about that glare. Once I figure out exactly how to fix it, this will be awesome, because I think this is going to be the new place to shoot videos from this point forward. I don't think I'm going to be walking through my house anymore or anything like that. I think sitting at this chair, reading from this computer screen if I need to, or just talking about the day in general, I think is exactly how it's going to go from now on. So, hope you like the setup, because it seems like you guys do. So, thanks again for watching the videos, and the new form videos, they're not up and down anymore, they're side to side, so they're a lot more available for full screen, so there's always that. Excuse me. Change in temperature is really awkward right now. I mean, it was down in the 40s the other day, and now we're up in the 70s. Let's see what it is. It is 72 degrees, according to the weather direct gimmick that my mom has on this desk. So, it is Sunday, and yesterday was not as bad as I was expecting. The meeting went okay, I guess. I got me Tim Hortons gift card, which I will be using on Timbits and Frozen Lemonade in the near future. Thank you, Ralph. And some new things are going to be starting for the company very soon. Some new computer situations, and the Crown Club is going to be a little bit different, so that's going to be pretty cool. So look forward to that. Excuse me again. Now, of course, we did watch 2 movies today, and we got 4 movies for you for AJ's Weekend Movie Reviews. So, without any further ado, as always, these are AJ's opinions and only AJ's opinions. They may coincide with mine, they may not. It just kind of depends on AJ's feelings on the movies, or mine, depending on how you look at it. So, let me get us started off today, right away, with 42. Excuse me. I went in with a fair amount of hope when I saw 42, as I have a generally good relationship with sports movies. It also helps that my all-time favorite sports movie is a baseball movie, much like this one. However, I started to get immediately discouraged when the movie began with old grainy footage and a narration and newspaper covers. And I quickly realized this movie was not going to do anything to elevate itself to be any more than the other sports movies like it. Now, that's not to say that the movie is without quality. It is very far away from being anything bad. The movie is written and directed by Brian Helgeland, who has a decent batting average. Sorry, I couldn't think of another way to put it. When it comes to writing, and a horrible one when it comes to directing. Now, he won an Oscar for his work on the LA Confidential script, as well as writing scripts for Mystic River and Tony Scott's 2009 The Taking of Pelham 123. Now, having said that, the very short list of directing credits he has is not flattering. There's A Knight's Tale, and The Order, long-forgotten Heath Ledger movies you can probably find for $1 or less in a bin somewhere, as well as Mel Gibson's fatally unimpressive Payback. That's something as coveted as the long-awaited movie about Jackie Robinson that had been through so many stages of production was handed to him to be the lone writer-director, goes to show how reckless Hollywood can be sometimes. Now, I was pleased to discover, though, that a lot of the writing is pretty good. There are some bad and cheesy stuff from time to time, but we get a lot more of Academy Award winner Brian Helgeland than the Order director Brian Helgeland. Now, the cast list is long, and everyone is good to great to an absolute phenomenon. Chadwick Boseman, whose biggest movie role to date was a thankless role in Dennis Quaid's 2008 football movie The Express, is a wonderful presence and shows he can carry the movie on his own, despite being an unknown. Now, it's clear he's put a lot of work and study into his performance as Robinson, and it comes off more as an honor than a performance. It was also clear the studio had a lot of faith in him, as they should have, seeing as he is an unknown who receives top billing on all the posters over Harrison Ford. Excuse me. There are a number of colorful, interesting supporting characters. Chris Maloney as Leo DeRocher. The former manager is great as he effectively brings the movie some needed comedy, which also bringing while also bringing in some heavy dramatic scenes. Nicole Bahari wholeheartedly fulfills the difficult task of making Rachel Robinson a real character whose emotions and presence are fully visible, avoiding the supportive but ultimately unimportant cliché wife role. Andre Holland as Wendell Smith, our narrator, as well as friend and reporter, though the writing unwisely casts him out of the movie for long periods of time despite the fact that he's the narrator. A humorously restrained John C. McGinley as commentator Red Barber, and a sleazy, evil Alan Tudyk as Ben Chapman, manager of the Phillies and the most racist man in baseball. He only has a few scenes, but he never lets you forget he was there, finally sending Robinson over the edge as he attempts to single-handedly surpass Django Unchained's N-word count. Now, remember when I said the acting ranged in good... from good to an absolutely... remember when I said the acting ranged from good to an absolute phenomenon? Well, that absolute phenomenon is Harrison Ford. I fully understand the significance of releasing the movie in April, but it deeply saddens me that this will be undoubtedly be forgotten when award season comes around. Ford's performance is completely Oscar-worthy. It is so fun and such a pleasure to watch him. When he's off screen, you can't wait for him to come back, and you're filled with a certain joy when he does. Some might call him scenery chewing, but he does it in the best possible way. He's the epitome of a meaty supporting role. Hollywood heavyweights like Robert Redford and Jack Nicholson were up for the part initially, but I feel that, like the character, would have been a much more generic, inspirational driving force for the hero type of character, perhaps moving, but ultimately forgettable. Ford turns him into someone you'd love to see as an entire movie devoted to. Now, there's a warm sincerity underneath a tough as nails, hard ass that Ford is able to flawlessly convey. Now, a lot of the time you can get totally lost in him and only see Branch Rickey and not one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars ever, and that is quite an accomplishment. Okay, if you look directly in his eyes, you can tell it's Ford, but other than that, he's able to disappear. Now, there are a few very memorable moments in this movie. It's quite uplifting when you watch the scene where Robinson is hit in the face with a fast pitch by a pitcher that belittles him. Then Jackie comes back to score a home run off the same pitcher. What's transcendent about this is that you look at it on the outside and think how cheesy and movie-like it is. Then you come to terms with the fact that this is exactly how it happened in real life, further acknowledging the importance of making a movie about a guy who actually lived cheesy sports movie moments in real life. Now, there is also an incredibly disturbing scene where we see an innocent little boy in the stands with his father, who is very excited to be at the game and seeing all the players. It is at this point, excuse me, it is at that point that Robinson walks onto the field, and the father proceeds to scream obscenities and racial slurs in his direction. The boy, well, after looking confused and unsure, thinks this is what is supposed to be and joins his father in the hateful yelling. Unfortunately, the goods that this movie does have can't seem to come together to make a totally effective story. There are some scenes that really felt like they could have evolved into something quite riveting, but just kind of stop instead. It also feels a lot more uninvolving than it should, which I think stems from the way they speed through large gaps of time occasionally. There were scenes where I feel like I could have been strongly affected if only I had felt more invested, which I didn't. I already discussed that sometimes the cheese factor works, considering this is real stuff, but what's great about that previous moment was that it didn't need any directional interference to be that way. When Helgoland descends into Disney sports movie cheesedom with slow motion and the generic inspirational score is when it starts to get a little too much. The only thing missing from the last scene, that exploding stadium lights in the natural. The exploding stadium lights in the natural. Whew. Scary Movie 5. Alright. Defenders of the spoof genre who like movies such as Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer's notoriously despised movies, or those straight-to-DVD movies no one has seen that mash together 5 or 6 titles of completely unrelated movies with the cast dressed as famous characters on the cover, say that the spoof genre cannot be critiqued. They say it isn't there to be picked apart by uptight critics with no sense of humor. They say it is not for critics to say what's funny and what isn't. As someone who isn't a critic, I'd like to throw my hat into the ring and say that if we can call Airplane a comedy masterpiece, or praise the Hot Shots movies, or even say good things about the Wayans brothers' original Scary Movie, anyone is more entitled to talk about the cinematic abortion that is Scary Movie 5. Though the opening is not funny, it is the closest thing we get to a scene not totally failing. The much-publicized appearances of Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan doing a send-up of Paranormal Activity does exactly what one would expect with the material they have. We get to watch them in a bunch of sexual positions go by and fast forward. Only the problem is, well, I'm not sure what kind of sex this is. Clearly, that's what the makers were going for. But both clearly have all their clothes on and appear to be doing that. Well, some pretty bizarre dry humping thing under the covers. Is the MPAA really that strict on its PG-13 rating? This also leads to some acrobatic bedroom manner that feels directly lifted from the Hot Shots sequel. This predictably goes on for way too long. From here, we go into a scene of Snoop Doggin, who I'm assuming is some other current famous person. I don't know, I can't keep up with this stuff. This scene has a couple of admittedly funny moments until we reach the point in the story that totally blew my mind. I've never seen anything quite like it before. I'm still foolishly trying to wrap my head around how this is even possible. Now from this point on, all the way until the very end, the movie becomes mainly a spoof of Mama, including exact scenes and the same ending. Now, if you haven't seen Mama yet, this movie is ripe with spoilers for it. The craziest thing about that, Mama was released in theaters this past January. It's April. Mama was released in theaters 3 months ago. Actual remakes don't work that fast. It's not even out on DVD yet. If people didn't flock to theaters to see Mama, the so-called jokes of your movie are screwed. Now, let me say that again. I'm not talking about when the makers of a spoof lazily watch the trailers for famous movies and steal from that. This features actual scenes from Mama that you are not supposed to have seen yet. Now, the worst part of all of this is that this movie has been in production forever. They started shooting in September, I think. Now, think about this. How much money Dimension just threw right down the toilet? You've been shooting since September. A movie comes out in January. Now you throw everything away that you've written and totally redo the movie as a spoof of something that has been out for only 3 months that not everyone has seen yet. Okay, before I go any further, I want to talk about another offender of this. Believe me, this is even worse. Okay, you know Evil Dead, right? No. Not Sam Raimi's movie from 1981. I'm talking about the one released last weekend. Excuse me. Now there's a moment where the girls find the evil book and go upstairs and find 5 teens in a cabin. Normal cabin in the woods horror movie joke coming, right? Well, think again. This is exact dialogue from Scary Movie 5 in this scene. This is Mia, Eric, Olivia, and Natalie. We're here because Mia is a drug addict, and we're trying to get her off drugs. Then every single scene from that movie proceeds to happen right before our very eyes in a matter of seconds. From the dialogue to the arm severings, to Mia licking the box cutter, then being locked in the cellar. Well, douchebag writers, the joke's on you. They do Mia singing the "We're Gonna Get You, Not Another Peep." That didn't even make it into the final cut of Evil Dead. Yeah, you look pretty idiotic now, don't you? Excuse me. Wow, just the sinuses today. I'm sorry about this. Another great moment of screw you writers, was the Inception joke. There was widespread internet rage when the "this tube goes in your mouth, the other goes in your rectum" joke from the trailer was revealed to have been lifted word for word from Mike Judge's Idiocracy. Yeah, guess what? Which joke was taken out of the movie? Well, after a while, they just start referencing crap, and just for the hell of it. The Black Swan spoof that was originally supposed to be the main concept is now totally random and pointless. Well, except for the one joke you know was their only intention with this. Yes, of course, the lesbian sex scene was not left alone. There's a joke where Molly Shannon is doing Winona Ryder's character from that movie, and what's funny is everyone knows that the jokes in these movies tend to milk themselves dry way too early. But they still keep going. Well, there is a gag reel during the never-ending end credits where Shannon is doing the joke and Ashley Tisdale can't stop laughing. Then she finally looks off camera and says, "I can't hold it for that long. It goes on forever." There is a joke involving a Mexican maid, and which, by the way, both this and A Haunted House jumped on despite the fact that I don't recall so much as a reference to a Mexican maid in any Paranormal Activity movie. It's not offensive enough that they go through the stereotype of her being Mexican. There's a scene where for no damn reason they have her hitting a piñata hanging in her bedroom in the middle of the night. Well, because you know that's what Mexicans do. The joke with this maid goes on and on and on. Every time she's finally gone from the movie, she always comes back. Like they think the audience craves this character. Good lord, if for some ungodly reason you were looking to do lineups with this movie, the actress playing the maid is borderline leading. They shove her down our throats so much. It also has your normal offenses of calling out what jokes are referencing. Of calling out what the jokes are referencing, so everyone knows they're referencing something new and hip. Throwing in random crap like someone's playing Medea for 2 seconds of screen time. The ongoing jokes of people getting the crap beat out of them over and 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 over again, scene after scene after scene. There's a self-congratulatory montage towards the end where Tisdale is thinking back on the past events, which is just an excuse for them to show us every joke in the movie all over again in montage form. This movie feels so long, 85 minutes. 10 of those minutes being end credits that just never stop with unfunny gag reel moments. I felt like I was watching it all damn day. I have a question. How about instead of a gag reel during the end credits, why not show all the stuff you spent money to shoot before cutting it in favor of jokes you wrote on the spot 5 minutes before the scene was shot? I'm almost positive the only way this movie is possible is that the completed script was written on the Monday before the Friday it was released. To the wonder. Oh boy. The time has come again. Though many ardent fans receive the news with an excitement of a child on Christmas Eve, I prepare myself for a long, blistering battle against narcolepsy at the news of a new Terrence Malick movie. The notorious hermit has made only a handful of movies. He started with Badlands, which I liked in 1973, before going on to The Painfully Boring Days of Heaven in 1978. After disappearing off the face of the earth for 20 years, he returned with The Thin Red Line in 1998, his grueling 3-hour World War II movie. Then the overlong but tolerable The New World in 2005. Now, in 2011, at the release of The Tree of Life, it was announced that he was going to start churning out his nature fetish porn at a much quicker rate, returning just 2 years later with To the Wonder, as well as having completed a documentary and 2 interconnecting movies starring Christian Bale set for release soon. Well, today we're going to talk about To the Wonder. To keep from sounding like I didn't give this a fair shot, I'm challenging myself to give you this review entirely without using the infamous P word used to describe so many art films. Now we open on prolonged scenes of Olga Kurylenko and Ben Affleck running around together, fawning all over each other as they go from place to place like teenagers experiencing first love. We progressively learn that Affleck is Olga's new boyfriend, and he's bringing her and her daughter from a previous marriage to the U.S. to live with him. From here, like one big happy family. So wow, long day. From here, the whole movie feels like one big montage with shots that seem recycled from the cutting room floor of The Tree of Life. They live their life like one big happy family until, for seemingly no reason, and from out of nowhere, the daughter turns on him and says she hates him, and that she wants to go live with her dad. Well, so much for that. From there, Olga leaves. I guess it's to take her daughter back to her ex-husband. And by the way, I'm just assuming as she was once married to this guy. I don't know, we never see him. And like many other things in this movie, it's apparently too unimportant to know. Anyways, While she is gone, Affleck reunites with his old love, Rachel McAdams. Now, they have about 10 minutes of screen time together before she disappears from the movie forever. They have a brief encounter before sunset type of storyline where they walk around on a farm, then walk around in some fields, then walk around some buffalo. They have a fling. Affleck gives her enough time to fall back in love with him before he remembers, oh yeah, I'm in love with Olga, bye, and then he just abandons her. As all this goes on, we occasionally transition the story to a lonely priest played by Javier Bardem. Bardem gives a good performance, which he can pretty much do effortlessly now. But this character has no purpose. They continue to build it like he's going to eventually come into the lives of the other characters and make some significant change. Well, he does have some scenes with Affleck at the end, but they ultimately lead to nothing. I suspect he had a majority of his screen time cut, seeing as many were victims of that during production. As to what's on the film, the whole storyline is just a dead end. I know it's Malik's MO to have dead-end storylines, but this character actually had my interest for much of his screen time. I was very intrigued as to where his character arc would go. Olga eventually comes back, and after a few more montages of holding hands in sunlight and grass, the weirdest thing happens. For no inexplicable reason at all. It's like the main characters just totally lose their minds at the drop of a hat. Olga frolics around like an insane child and or mental patient, while Affleck suddenly uncovers an overreaction impulse that leads to violent rage that seems to come totally out of nowhere. You actually start to believe one of them is going to kill the other. This is not as riveting as it sounds. You'll be much more confused than intrigued. Also, there is an all-too-brief subplot involving Olga needing medical treatment of some sort, and it sounds pretty serious when it first comes up, but it's just kind of ignored until it's resolved in a single shot that lasts all of 3 seconds. The biggest problem with this movie is that... The biggest problem with this movie is what most spotted by simply seeing the first publicity still for the movie. The picture is of Affleck and McAdams, and they are in kind of an embrace, but most of the picture is taken up by the field of wheat behind them, as if they are an afterthought. This movie has caused many people, including me, to almost believe Malick has made a full descent into self-parody, intentional or not. It's like he's taken everything that a lot of people hate about his films and multiplied it by 10 and put it to work here. It's also incredibly annoying the way he used narration. He has written he seems to think is really deep, poetic stuff. But it makes no damn sense, and oftentimes the characters try to talk over the narration, but are drowned out by it, and you can't tell what either one is trying to say. Now it's like trying to distinguish a single conversation within a school cafeteria. Not to mention the agonizing snail pace. This movie moves like the fat kid in gym class. There was once potential in this project when the original cast list was released, but as you already know, Terrence Malick does not understand how to treat actors. Right, Adrian Brody? This is the list of actors that actually filmed scenes for this movie that were inevitably, completely cut out. Jessica Chastain, Michael Sheen, Rachel Weisz, Amanda Peet, and Barry Pepper. All of them were in this movie. All of them gone. Also, I find Ben Affleck to be a very capable actor in the right role. I'm not sure Malick is for him. Christian Bale was originally cast in his role, and I think that would have been much more effective casting. Excuse me. Hopefully we're done. Affleck's greatest characters are often in the writing, and he has brought them to life well, but when someone like Terrence Malick hires you to just walk around and not do anything, it's up to you to create the character and make it interesting. And I don't think he was prepared for that. Another thing I found interesting was that it was publicized this would be Malick's first movie set entirely in present day. I was curious to see how this would affect things, but it doesn't really matter. The story could be told exactly as it is in any given time, and nothing would be any different. The funny thing about all of this was the initial reaction it received when it was screened at the Toronto International Film Festival back in September. I mean, this also for the people involved. There was a Q&A that only Kurylenko and McAdams were on the panel for, and when people would ask questions about the movie, the actresses would say they had no idea what was going on and laugh. Affleck was also quite vocal about his disdain for how the movie came out during his award season run for Argo. Everyone says Malick is a very nice man when you meet him, and I don't doubt it. Seriously though, he should just ditch the typewriter, take all the actors out of his Rolodex, stick to making documentaries, and call it a day. The company you keep. Robert Redford returns to directing once again, as well as returning to the screen for the first time in 6 years with The Company You Keep, the film based on Neil Gordon's book, which I have read, being scripted by Lem Dobbs, the impressive writer behind Steven Soderbergh's revenge movies like The Limey and Haywire. He does well with adapting the book from its odd original narrative, not to mention making an ingenious movie and writing out the book's least interesting character. However, this is anything but a relentless revenge movie. It is an elegant, if not always satisfying, chase movie with an alarmingly gargantuan cast listed underneath the watchful eye of the always reliable legend, Robert Redford. This movie opens on Sharon Solar's, Susan Sarandon, being arrested for a murder committed 30 years ago, where she was accompanied by a few fellow Weather Underground activists, one of which was Jim Grant, Robert Redford. Now Grant, who was there that day but has since changed his name, became a widower, and had a daughter, leaves the child behind to go on the run. He and the rest of the characters in the movie are relentlessly questioned by reporter Ben Shepherd, Shia LaBeouf. Now this leads to an endless array of supporting characters that may or may not lead Shepherd, as well as FBI agent Cornelius, Terrence Howard, to uncovering all the truths in this complex maze of a story. Now, the massive cast ranges in quality. Redford is solid in the leading role, and it's nice to see him in front of the camera again. LaBeouf is very good and perfectly cast as the charming, if Weasley, reporter. Chris Cooper is outstanding as Redford's caring yet cautious brother. Sarandon is fantastic, but that's nothing new for her. Brendan Gleeson does a pretty good job as an endless source of useful information. Britt Marling is good as Gleeson's daughter, but her presence is bogged down by a pointless subplot between her and LaBeouf's character that sidetracks the movie. Julie Christie, a legend who has supposedly claimed this is her last movie, is very good as Redford's old lover who offers him shelter. However, some of the cast falls short and is not up to par with the rest of the ensemble. Anna Kendrick is bland and does the same no-nonsense business type she played in Up in the Air. Terrence Howard is surprisingly lifeless as the FBI agent hell-bent on bringing everyone down. Now, the great Stanley Tucci, who always brings fun and charisma to his surroundings, is given the thankless job of playing LaBeouf's boss, a role that's flat on arrival. Nick Nolte isn't given enough time to really do anything as he exits the movie as fast as he entered it, simply existing to offer Redford some transportation. The great Richard Jenkins just kind of comes and goes, as a college professor who used to be part of their activist group. Needless to say, I think the movie could have been a lot slicker had some of these people been introduced to the cutting room floor. It progressively becomes less interesting the more and more it goes on, but that's not to say it's without big twists and turns. There is one big twist in particular that's kind of rushed and just weird and unfitting. The movie has often been referred to in reviews as a modern-day Alan J. Pakula movie, mainly aiming at his highly acclaimed films like All the President's Men and The 3 Days of the Condor, both of which of course star Redford. But I was never really big on those movies. I found them to be a little dull and incredibly overrated. It is helped by the good performances, the fast pace, which mainly comes from being distracted by the "hey, I know that person" game, and the way it's expertly put together despite its jarringly abrupt stop. With so much going on, this could have been a discombobulated mess. It's not all that great, but it's not bad at all. It's a good way to spend time watching a movie, but don't expect to remember it or be thinking about it again too far down the road. So, we reviewed 4 movies today. Next week, the only thing that we're getting is Oblivion, because no reason to review a movie or watch a movie that no one will watch. And I'm talking about Home Run. No offense to any Christians watching the movie. We usually don't watch those type of movies. And because it's not going to run for anything, and it's not going to be on any best list or worst list, it's probably not even going to be in Malton's book. So I have a feeling it's probably not going to happen. Girl Rising, it was a documentary that went to Sundance. I mean, different women and Liam Neeson are telling 9 different stories. And it stars Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway, and Selena Gomez, and so many other wonderful actresses, and Liam Neeson as well. So they're all different narrators for a different girl's story. I don't know if we're going to do that one or not. AJ also keeps putting over a couple of movies that he wants to tell you guys about, so we'll be doing that too. And like I said, very soon we are coming up next week, not next week, the week after, of course, is going to end up being Pain and Gain, as well as The Big Wedding, if not something else, maybe in Athens, at a cinema or Grand. So keep watching for that. I know you guys like AJ's movie reviews, and he loves the fact that you guys like his movie reviews. My reading isn't the greatest sometimes, I'm not going to lie, and sometimes I get kind of words jumbled, and that's the reason why we have stoppage and weird coughing fits I had during this video, so sorry about that. Oh yeah, I will say right now, it is official 100% as of today, and it's not changing. We are going to Raw in Columbus. Me, Alan, and Will return to the Nationwide Arena on April 29th, Monday Night Raw, and it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty fun. I can't wait for it. It's going to be awesome. And that's it. That's all we got for today. Later tonight will be Celebrity Apprentice, returning to 2 hours. Thank God. And we'll get a lot of interesting things as Gary Busey finally takes over as project manager, and Mary Lou Henner gets moved from the unstoppable team that she is on, and moved over into the not-so-power team. So, Plan B wins all the time, so that's basically what you need to know about that. I don't know if it'll happen tonight. Gary Busey's kind of a spastic PM, so we'll see what happens this evening. And, yeah, the credits for next week, the montage we saw for next week, pretty much shows that Busey's junk. Yeah, I don't like that either. But we'll see how it works out. They're going to be promoting Australian Gold products in a silent film task, so that's going to be really interesting. Like I said, we're back to 2 hours, so that's good. Hopefully that's going to be the case for the rest of the season. And I've got another Apprentice episode next week. The week after that, I'm going to have to miss The Apprentice live for the WDW Today Live podcast. And, of course, the next night, we got Raw in Columbus, so we've got a lot to look forward to. AJ's movie reviews are done for the week, and hopefully you like these videos. If you like AJ's weekend movie reviews, comment. Tell me what you think of these movies. Tell AJ what you think of these movies. He can respond back to you. He obviously won't type it out himself or get on this YouTube channel, but I will have him tell him what's going on, and he'll respond to you. And I'll just write out what he says. So if you guys want to comment, you're more than welcome to. You want to thumbs up these videos, you're more than welcome to. Tell your friends, subscribe, folks. All these wonderful videos still to come. AJ's Weekend Movie Reviews, Raw, Impact, and SmackDown recaps, talking about Celebrity Apprentice, random things that goes on in my everyday life. Obviously, later this year, we've got Disney, Universal, and SeaWorld. And that's just in September, the 8 Parks in One Day Challenge. We got all the movies that are set to come out later this year. We have reviews set for everything coming out this year. So keep tuned for that. So, keep watching these videos. Thank you guys for watching. We're almost to 4,000 hits already. I mean, we're close to, I think, 3,800 now. So, that's awesome, and thank you guys for helping with that. Getting to 5,000 is not going to be the hard part. Getting the subscribers is. So, if you like it, go ahead and subscribe. And keep watching. Like I said, if you want to get a hold of me, you're more than welcome to. You can find me on Twitter at @SirOwenDisney. And until tomorrow, that's all I got to say about that.